recent decades, changes in climate have caused impacts on natural and human systems, on all continents and across the oceans. Severer droughts, more frequent floods, and changing sea levels. In fact, climate change is altering the lands and waters that we all depend on for our survival, leaving the future generations with a very different world from the one that we are growing up in. An estimated 200 million people could be displaced as a result of climate impacts by 2050. In Africa and Asia, almost 1 billion people could experience shortages of water by 2080, and more than 9 million could fall victim to coastal floods, and many could face increased hunger. The NAP is the abbreviation for the National Adaptation Plans process, and it's a medium-term framework to help countries to deal with climate risk from the next 5 to 20 years onwards. There's no time frame defined, but it is to make sure that countries can start thinking about the actions they need to take to deal with this kind of risks in all the sectors of their economy and also in all parts of society. The parties to the UNFCCC established the NAP process in 2011, and then in 2012 they detailed the NAP technical guidelines. In 2015, the Paris Agreement emphasizes increased financing for NAPs in developing countries.
The NAP process can be long and complex, so countries are facing different challenges.
One of the main challenges that we have in terms of accessing financing for adaptation is to be able to develop project proposals that are fundable. And most of the times this relates to the rigorous requirements or processes that need to go into project proposal development for you to be able to access funds for large-scale projects. Because an example is under the GCF, you need to prepare or to undertake feasibility studies as part of project proposal development. So that requires a lot of capacity.
Currently, as part of the policy development process, we are trying to see how we can have a climate policy review process for financing, and then we would try to see how we can codify our budget codes to reflect what we are spending as a country on climate change, both in terms of resilience and disaster mitigation issues. And then we would also cost our adaptation needs as part of the NAP process.
Development partners such as United Nations Development Programme, Environment Programme, Global Water Partnership are helping countries to identify their technical, institutional and financial needs to integrate climate change adaptation into ongoing medium and long-term national planning and budgeting.
Because most of these funds require co-financing, the better approach is to try and see if countries can have partnerships with other existing organizations. If the Ministry of Agriculture or Environment or Water or Public Works is carrying out a program in adaptation, they should work in partnership with the private sector.
From the least developed countries to developing countries, governments and development agencies have worked hard for decades to lift people out of poverty. Now the impact of climate change is threatening to undo this hard work. We need to act now to reduce its cost to human development, and we need to adapt now so that our children and grandchildren can have a promising future.